Most companies want to speed the development process. They want to cut the cost of the development process. So I think the need for a resource at times on critical projects on high risk areas is important. But the other consideration beyond just a need is, can we trust a given resource to work with us in our environment? And clearly, if I'm working on product development in research and development R&D situations, that's very sensitive information, and so that need for trust is incredibly high. Without it, projects are really hard to execute and hard to have success with. And so I guess I just start by myself recognizing that the trust in taking care of your data is vital to the success of your company. Signing the NDA is a part of the battle, but to me that handshake of you can trust me with your stuff is huge. Again, because I know it's important for the success of not just this project, but other projects in your overall company. So I understand that. How do you know that you can trust me for sure? I mean, other than me just saying that, a part of it comes from, number one, being in this industry for consulting for a long period of time with companies that have trusted me with their data. I wouldn't have lasted this long without trust from organizations I've worked with, and having multiple repeat clients. I think that's a huge part of the trust as well. But also prior to that, I worked in the defense industry, and just working with that type of data on a daily basis for nearly a decade, there was a lot of trust that the different organizations put in our company and myself individually. And so there's just that habit developed from a corporate experience of just being very careful with data and how you treat it, how you communicate, what you can publish, what you can't publish, and how you publish what you can. Just dancing that line of keeping things private and yet disclosing that you've done cool stuff. And so we had to do that in the defense world to a public audience, and yet at the same time protect what was going on within us. So it's the experience not from a corporate side as well as consulting side, and again, repeat clients. And the other thing I think it's important, why can you trust me, is I'm always going to be available. As a consultant, I'm not like an employee that's going to maybe go to a competitor and then you risk losing that information. If you give me some information, it's got to be good. I've got to keep tabs of that, because and treat it appropriately, because you're going to bring me in for another project, whether in 6 months or 6 years or however long between gigs it might be, or we might be on a perpetual. I've had that with organizations too, where there's always a new project that could use some help, and help in a variety of ways. And so I have to maintain that trust on that first project, because I'm always looking ahead to those future projects as well. I don't want to do anything to jeopardize that relationship. In fact, recently I was with a company I did some work for, I think the math is 16 years ago. And as we were discussing that project briefly, because we were working on a new project today or recently, they asked about the information from that project. I'm like, I still have those files. They're like, well, if you could send it to us, that would be great, because Lord knows where that information ended up at our company. And so I'm always available, because I treat your data, and I archive that data for the long term. So they contacted me 16 years later, and I still had that information, which was helpful for the current project. It was different, but it was still relevant and helpful for the new project as well. So I know it's important to you. I've got a long track record of repeat clients and industry work that I just have to treat those things well, otherwise I wouldn't have survived. And then just my constant availability long term. Unlike an employee, I'm going to keep those files for you and just make sure that if needed down the road, that they're available and I'm available to bring that knowledge forward. If you have a need in your R&D for the type of services that I can bring, but also recognize the need for trust, certainly contact us here at Perry Solutions. We want to work with you. because of that long-term relationship that we can build to help your product development.